Hello everyone, this is China Paradigm, where we, Dashi Consulting, interview seasoned entrepreneurs in China. Hello everyone, I'm Matthieu David, the founder of Dashi Consulting and this podcast, China Paradigm. And today I am with Clement Ledormeur. You are the general manager and partner of 3110, a digital agency based in China, based in Shanghai more precisely. And why I insist based in Shanghai is that it's in your name. 3110 is the latitude of Shanghai, 31 degrees and 10. And you have been especially focusing on WeChat development, leveraging this WeChat ecosystem to build on apps and solutions for your clients. 3110 was created and I think 4 or 5 years ago, now maybe it's nearly 5 years ago, and you joined 3110 in 2017. You have been in China for 7 years, since 2012, always worked in the digital industry, digital environment, and now you are leading 3110 with about 15 people, if my information is correct. So thank you very much for being with us, Clement. And my first question is always the same for everyone. What's the size of your company? So I already gave a sense of the size of the company with 15 people, which is what is in your presentation. But can you give a bit an idea of the number of products you have been working on, not yourself, but say 110 as a company, and the number of clients, to give a sense to the audience where you are in your development?
So yeah, as you mentioned, we started 4 years ago and always focusing on WeChat since the very beginning of the company. We've been working at the beginning with 4A agencies, notably Publicis, AKQA, BBH, BBDO, that were basically outsourcing the WeChat solutions, H5 campaigns or mobile apps for their biggest clients. So at the beginning, yeah, we've been working through this model with big brands such as Nike, NBA, in the luxury industry as well. So over the past 4 years, I think we have more than 100 clients now. We've been working on more than 120 projects. So we have an average of 30 projects per year since the beginning of the creation of 3110.
I see. And the team is 15 people.
15 people. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, we started actually offering 3 services, which were digital strategy, tech, and design, because the 3 founders were one digital strategist, one designer, and one tech. So that's how we started. And then on the strategy side, we actually shut down the department 1.5 years ago. We are still using a lot strategy, but more on the solution side. So basically applying our expertise, the digital strategy, in favor of the solution right now.
I see. Actually, I have a lot of questions based on what you just said. First thing is, why publicists? Why those big companies may need an outside agency to help them to build mini programs or to use WeChat? They are so big, they have so many talents, so many people. Why can't they do that internally?
Well, I believe simply because the business model and the team is not structured to actually develop or to specialize on the tech side. So they would have like capacities in terms with CTO, for example, but they wouldn't have especially developers in-house and working directly in an agile methodology on the client solution, because you need to be super reactive, especially in the advertising space. Every solution can change from 1 week to another. So you need to have basically tech people on site working directly on the solution with them and with the creative team.
So, does it mean that what you do, you do everything internally? I understand that you use the API of WeChat, you use already the existing framework and so on, but does it mean that you develop actually the final product internally within your 15 people team?
So we don't have a product per se. We actually focus only on tailor-made bespoke solutions. So oppositely to Thomas, which you interviewed in the past, which has
Thomas Graziani from
right,
WeChat.
good friend as well. So Thomas would work on a more SaaS solution, WeChat Store. We would work only on bespoke tailor-made solutions. So that's the different starting point. And also it would focus more on cross-border, while actually also because we are only in Shanghai, we would focus only on the local market with brands that are in China.
I see. But developing bespoke would be very time consuming. I believe you're already using some framework solutions, APIs, existing APIs, which help to actually communicate easily with WeChat and other environment. Could you tell us more about the environment you are using in order to build your mini program? I give an example to the audience who may be Westerners. When you build a website in the West, you use WordPress. It's more than half of the website worldwide. It's easy to use. It's fast. Google ranking fast and so on. What frameworks, what languages do you use in China to build on WeChat?
So actually, there is already like 2 or 3 frameworks that are quite popular on mini programs, as you mentioned, mini programs in that case. So there is one called Taro, which is based on React, and React is actually the stack developed by Facebook developers. So it's actually a Western kind of stack,
Yeah.
which is used by, for example, JD.com mini program is based on this framework, and there is already more than 15,000 developers that have started this on GitHub. And there is 2 or 3 others. So basically, same as usual, you would have a standard framework. So let's say WordPress that you mentioned in Western countries for website. Well, Tencent has actually its framework for mini programs. It's just that right now, I think more and more developers are using and trying to improve the framework, which is a basis from Tencent, to more like a fastest solutions such as Taro or MPView, which is also based on Vue.js, to improve the mini program itself.
How do you spell those frameworks for the audience?
So Taro is Taro. There is actually a GitHub repository. I think there is one repository on WeChat, online that you can find, which has all the framework and plugins and whatever you need for WeChat mini program development. There is also an intro course that has been done by Andrew on Udemy, or is it Udacity? Sorry, a couple of years ago. So yeah, the community is expanding, and there is more and more online courses and tutorials and frameworks that are being developed.
For people who are listening to us who are not tech savvy as much as you are, GitHub is a platform where developers are going to share their work and are going to share their knowledge. I'm correct?
Yeah.
And we say that?
Yeah, we can say that.
And to plug in a system more easily when you develop your solution. Okay, I understand that, and thank you very much for being so detailed. Then there's another keyword you are using. It's the word solution. Could you explain more why you are using the word solution? Does it mean that your objective is to answer to a problem of a client, so you bring a solution? And what does a solution is opposed to? What do you oppose solution to? Do you oppose solution to purely design, aesthetic design? Why do you use and insist on the word solution?
So we use solutions because we are not doing any marketing activities such as media buying, search engine, and so on. So we focus solely on tech design and data side on WeChat solutions. So yeah, WeChat solution is a bit vague, but in WeChat solutions, I include something like loyalty program, like WeChat store, so e-commerce. Like B2B platforms or portals for B2B clients, or H5 campaigns for digital marketing activation. So it could be plenty of solutions, actually the same that you would have in Western countries, which would be more like web and mobile app, on WeChat would tend in the past 2 years to become more like mini programs or H5, as we call them.
So you're using the word solution as a product to say you are focusing on the product, you develop products, but you are not managing them. You are not providing the service behind them. That would be another agency, a marketing agency. You are a digital agency building solutions. I understand now. In the presentation you sent to me, on the other hand, you talked a lot actually about UX testing and UI testing. Is it part of the solution you are designing as you design it and then you test? And could you tell us more about what you do in terms of UX and UI specifically in a Chinese context?
Right. So, well, this really depends on the client presence in China, whether or not they already have solutions in place. For example, let's say they have their e-commerce website or their WeChat store, but the performance is not as good as they expect. So yes, the idea would be to do usability testing, UX testing, or simply analyzing the data of the current performance of this solution to see how we could improve the user experience to optimize the conversion rate. So if it's e-commerce, the KPI would be to drive more sales, to improve the conversion rate of the checkout, for example, or to increase the payment success rate. That's what we've done for some clients, for example, Club Med with their booking system, which basically they had a problem regarding their payment success rate, which was around 60%. So basically out of hundreds, thousands of visitors per year, only 60% managed to go through the whole payment process. So which is basically check out and pay either with Alipay.
60% is 60 or 16?
60. And actually the average is around 80% if you compare to if you look at the market. 0. And so yeah, we try to help them to improve this payment success rate, and that's what we've done in around 2 months, if I remember well.
Okay, over 2 months, what you tested, you asked people to use the platform, and you assessed actually what was wrong and what was good, and to improve what was wrong and keep what was right. Am I correct?
Exactly. And so one of the examples I can mention is, for example, they were offering Alipay on their WeChat store, so on their website, e-commerce on WeChat. But as you might know, actually Alipay doesn't work within WeChat ecosystem, WeChat browser. So you need to in terms of user experience, you would put WeChat Pay first, even hide Alipay if the user is on WeChat browser. So this is a kind of optimization that you can do. We've been much more into deep dive audits on the tech and UX side to improve this. But yeah, the number one KPI was basically going from 60% payment success rate to 80% within 4 months, and that's what we've done.
Okay, I see. Very impressive actually, because basically you improved by 40% their results, if I'm correct, right?
By 20%, yes. And
20 points, but 40%, yeah, right?
Mm. Yeah, sorry, you're right, absolutely. Your math is better than mine.
But it's a good marketing tool. It's better to say 40%.
Yeah, you know. So, and another example that, yeah, I want to mention is, for example, I've been working with Starbucks China website on the Chinese website. That was 2 years ago, and we use some solutions such as Hotjar, which is an analytics tool that would do some, for example, session recordings, heat maps, scroll maps. You can also add survey to the users going to your website to see what they wanted to add on the new website, and basically what were the pain points of the users currently on Starbucks website. So we've been doing this for a couple of weeks to understand what users wanted before actually redesigning their website.
And Hotjar, we know Hotjar is a Western solution, and we know that in China it has been very difficult to use some Western solutions. I'll give you an example. I love the website SimilarWeb, and every time I interviewing someone, I put the website on SimilarWeb to know where the traffic is coming from. It doesn't work in China. It's not as performant as China. So how about Hotjar? Is it lagging? Is it performant? And what about Google Analytics? What about the solutions you mentioning in your PPT, which are Western solutions?
Mm-hmm. So yes, that's always been the number one question 7 years ago for 3 years. Like, is Google Analytics working in China? Yes, actually, the script itself, so the measurement is working perfectly fine in China. It's just that the dashboard, the access to the tool itself would sometimes require a VPN. I think that's the same problem with you, potentially. But yeah, Hotjar works the same way as Google Analytics. It's just a script that you would load asynchronously. So basically, would not have real impact on your DOM, on your first loading time of the solution. So there is no problem on this. But indeed, sometimes you would load some modules that would be slow to load. Like, for example, if I want to put a survey directly on the website for Starbucks, this would load a bit slow. So that's why sometimes we also have these solutions to enter the Chinese market. Content Square had some issues in the past, and now they've been working on it to accelerate every time the solution in China. So there's plenty of them that are improving the solution for the Chinese market, but we've also been working a lot with local analytics solutions. It mostly depends on the digital ecosystem of the brand. If it's an international brand, they would rely on Google Analytics for all their markets. So that doesn't make sense if you use another tool, a local one for the Chinese market.
I see. For the people listening to us who may not be familiar with all the solutions you mentioned, Content Square is a one-stop solution where actually you would track a bit everything happening on your website. It's a bit of Hotjar plus Google Analytics and understanding how to improve your conversion rate.
Yes, it's very similar to Hotjar, and on top of this, they can also plug with some A/B testing solution, such as A/B testing, for example. So yes, that would be the add-on they have. Plus, they have some screenshot analysis. Yeah, it's a bit more detailed and data-centric.
So I understand that about the UX and UI phase. By the way, what difference do you do in terms of UX phase and UI phase? I see that you are differentiating very well into your presentation.
Right. So UX is all about user experience. So it starts with what we just talked about. So all the data analytics parts, understanding first why you need to redesign or design this solution. So it's much more about, it's much more user-centric. So basically building personas, understanding of their journey to deliver wireframes and user flow. Like what would be their navigation through the solution in order to convert on a WeChat store, for example. While UI is actually much more about look and feel, prototyping as well, what it will actually look like, and do the finalized based on the wireframe, the actual design of the solution.
I see. So I understand that what you do as part of the auditing is UX and UI, or auditing pre-production and maybe post-production. Now, yes. Let's talk more about the solutions you mentioned. I feel you are solving a lot of problems because you are talking about loyalty, you are talking about getting clients as well through a solution you provide. You are talking about creating also gamification and so on. I read into your presentation some examples of engaging with a client. Could you tell us the different segments you have been working on and share some use cases, a bit like you did with Club Med, but maybe more in details?
Yeah, sure. So We've been working on many different solutions and notably on WeChat. So for example, I don't know if you've heard about WeChat mini games. WeChat mini games are actually a gaming functionality within WeChat ecosystem and which is based on the same technology as WeChat mini programs. So we've been developing WeChat mini games for a famous gaming studio company, building two WeChat mini games. And this was actually the solution that we built that drove the most traffic. We had up to 4 million daily average users on the mini games. Yeah, because it might sound silly, but these mini games are actually the money maker of Tencent right now, the cash cow, basically. So they are pushing really hard on having more mini games on their platform because that generate a lot of revenue for them. They take up to 40% of all the advertising done on mini games right now.
Okay, let's talk more about this mini game. I feel it's a case we have never gone through into China with China Paradigm. Could you tell us more about the story of this mini game and why it was designed as a mini game? Did people have to pay for the mini game? What was the objective of the mini game? What was the KPI we're looking at with this mini game? And what was it scaling to?
So actually, mini game started around 1 year ago. So we were one of the first agencies starting to build mini games. We have done a crash course here in Shanghai to explain how to build a mini game. We started with a flat deluxe version, but here the studio came to us because they simply didn't have the WeChat expertise. They were great at doing mobile apps games for the Western market. Actually, all their games are on the App Store worldwide. But converting this mobile app game into a WeChat mini game was something to be a bit, which was something a bit strange to them and difficult for them to make. So that's why we helped them on this.
I see.
The API was. Yeah,
conversion then. It was an adaptation, let's say. It was to adapt the game, not adaptively culturally speaking, maybe a little bit, but mainly technologically speaking.
Yes. And of course, UX, UI as well, in terms of design as well. Yeah.
Okay. But why did they want to do it on WeChat if they have so little presence in China? What did they want to prove? What was the idea behind it? Did people have to pay for the game? It was a stream of revenue. It was to get followers. What was the objective?
So they get a stream of revenue through advertising as well. So while Tencent would take 40% of the advertising revenue, this gaming studio company would take the rest of it. So every click on the banner advertising on the WeChat mini game, every video watch would actually be a stream of revenue.
Okay, I understand. So this studio came to you and said, "We have this game. We want to make it work in China because we know that China is a big audience. We know Chinese like games, play a lot with Tencent ecosystem, and they went to you to adapt it. But then the question is, how did they get 4 million daily average users if you don't do the marketing?"
So so that was also a big part of the job. It was to establish the partnership with Tencent. So that's what they've done internally. So they actually built a partnership with Tencent, going to see them, to meet them, to have their support on the marketing activation. So basically, they've been receiving the traffic acquisition, the audience also, thanks to this partnership with Tencent directly.
So when you say partnership, because this word is used a lot, like partnership with with someone, but what it is it that you are pushed actually on the first page of the App Store? What is a partnership with Tencent? What can it look like?
So yes, that would be exactly the example you mentioned is exactly the one they've been going through, but not only. So yes, they've been promoted on the top games on the WeChat mini games ecosystem for about a week or a month, if I remember well. So that, of course, helps to drive traffic and on the games itself.
I see. Okay. Okay, got it. When you have to adapt a game, an existing game, to WeChat, what can you take from the existing game, and what do you have to adapt? Is it that you have to create an H5? Is it that you have to actually record everything? Could you explain a bit more about the process?
Sure. So actually, it's a bit similar to Western countries in that sense that, for example, you would have Facebook instant game, which are very popular right now in Europe and worldwide, which are web games. Converting mobile app games into Facebook instant game would be slightly similar to converting its mobile app game into a WeChat main game somehow. The big difference is about the code base. A mobile app would be 60 megabytes or so, right? Even more sometimes. So here we have to convert into 4 megabytes back then. I think now the limit is around 8 megabytes. You can still have a backend to extend, but yeah, the big part of the project is to optimize as much as possible to make it as fast as possible as well on WeChat.
Okay. Okay. You talk about games. You talked before about loyalty programs, loyalty solutions. Could you give some examples of what you have done for the loyalty purpose? Loyalty being a way to push your existing clients to come back to your website, to come back to your store and buy a game.
Yes. So I've been working in the past, and notably in the cosmetics industry. So yeah, helping brands to build their club. So basically, every customer would become a member for this brand. And so in that sense, they would potentially buy in pharmacy, convenience store, even on Tmall, and they would be able to scan a QR code directly on the packaging of the product to verify if the product is genuine or not, and that would give them points. So because they bought a product with this QR code, we know they are customers, so we know that they are a member, and we give them points that they can later redeem. So back then we had like cinema tickets, cooking lesson. So it really depends on what the users are looking for. But you would have a club that you can redeem your points into actual products or get rewards, incentives.
So the solution you would provide here is a mini program which can scan and send the information of the WeChat ID to a database which is managed by the company. And at the same time, I believe people after scanning would follow the official account of the brand.
Right, absolutely. And we got like around 80% of the visitors that were actually converting into members.
Okay, so 80% of the visitors were converting into members. What can you expect in terms of sales then?
Well, first of all, you have increasing followers database on your WeChat official account. That's already a good KPI that you need to keep in mind, because then you can do all the marketing activities you want on the official account. Then it's about repeat purchase, because potentially if you bought this bottle, we know that you bought this bottle at this day, we could potentially push a message 6 months later, because we estimate that the bottle will be done, or they will need to rebuy for this. So you could push for a WeChat coupon directly on this product page, or and so on and so on. So obviously the return on sales is much higher for existing customers than for new customers, for prospects, as we call it.
I see, but implementing this kind of loyalty program, do you have some numbers to share on how it has improved the sales? Can we expect the sales to grow by 3%, by 5%, to expect like 10% of the client's base is going to become loyal thanks to when they go through the program? Do you have some numbers to share?
Yeah, so on the sales side, I think we, based on the study I saw recently, there was like plus 30% of the basket the average basket on the solution itself for members because they gain more points, right? If they spend this certain amount, they would get more points. So it was around plus 30% on the basket, the size of the basket directly on the e-commerce solution, and a medium of plus 5% conversion rate for members compared to prospects.
I see conversion rate is the number of units, and 30% would be the volume. So basically, you have a double effect, double leverage. The volume is higher, and the number of people buying is higher.
And with China being right now more and more competitive, you know, there is more and more brands, and even international brands are quite challenged now by local brands, even on, especially on the cosmetics in the cosmetics industry. So you need to leverage your existing clients database rather than trying to get more new prospects or new traffic directly on the solution.
Yeah, it's cheaper to sell again a product to an existing client than to get a new client.
Yeah.
On this topic of loyalty program and this way of getting an audience following you, I feel that everything is going through WeChat. That means that if someone wants to implement such a system, he needs to have a shop on WeChat. He needs to have an official page and so on. It's a bit of a closed ecosystem. Do you agree with this analysis?
Yes, I agree with this analysis, but actually the social ecosystem is changing really fast in China. So yeah, we've been focusing on WeChat for 4 years, and we are realizing that it's changing really fast in the sense that if you look at the numbers, I believe WeChat has lost 7% of the mobile time spent last year over ByteDance. So they went from 53% in 2017 to 46% in 2018, and ByteDance from 3 to 10 oppositely. Weibo has also gained some share back. I was one of the 5 years ago, I was criticizing Weibo on the quality of the media, of the traffic brought to the solution. And right now they are gaining share back. So you need to adapt to a very fast pace and a always changing ecosystem. So going WeChat only would not be a good strategy, which I say to clients also going Tmall only or marketplaces only. It's all ecosystem. Then it's about, depends on your digital strategy, and you know much better than I do on this part. But yes, so we, on the solution side, we will do kind of cross-platform solutions more and more, meaning we have the right solution according to the right channel. So for example, for Weibo, it would be mobile site or website. For WeChat, mini program would convert much better than the website. And for ByteDance, so ByteDance is trying to launch as well their solution on their side. So yeah, you have to adapt to this and be more omni-channel, cross-platform solution on this.
Tell me if I'm wrong, but what I feel is that when we talk about ByteDance or TikTok doing, especially, but there are many other solutions. We talk about ByteDance, we talk about Weibo, we mainly talk about traffic drivers, platform who can drive traffic. But when we talk about WeChat, we talk about an ecosystem, we talk about a system, basically, a developing system where you can have your shop, you can have your page, you can have your followers, you can have your database. It's much more sophisticated and you can build on it. You can develop, and which is your job, which is what you do, which is to develop. So when we talk about ByteDance and Weibo, then I feel that you don't have much to do with them. You just want them to send traffic.
Yeah, well, actually, ByteDance is for very specific industries, I believe, because it's short video ads, right? Videos of 10 seconds. So it's great for cosmetics, for example. I see a KOL doing a makeup tutorial, and I can buy directly online. Usually, Douyin, ByteDance, TikTok, would redirect to Tmall, to Taobao directly. So you can actually redirect to a solution. It doesn't matter if it's with WeChat or not. It's much more about the whole ecosystem again. And that's what Maybelline, for example, is doing. That's why all the luxury brands right now are going into ByteDance TikTok right now as well. So I believe it's WeChat is a super app, and there is no problem. They are still the #1 app in China, but you need to see the whole core of your social media strategy and include other channels if it makes sense.
I'd like now to talk about your own marketing, the marketing of 3110. In the PDF you sent to me, you are mentioning a lot of white papers and presentations. I understand that's part of your own marketing. Could you tell us more about how you build all those reports? How are you able to collect all this information and stay up to date? What are your sources, and how do you build those white papers?
Yeah, so that was since the beginning as well. We wanted to share deep dive content on WeChat, but not only, also on the China digital environment and ecosystem. So we do all the content in-house, and we actually rely on everyone's expertise to work on these white papers. So sometimes it's a teamwork involving 5 to 10 people, so almost all the team, let's say. And we spend, for example, the latest one is about social CRM in China, and we spend around 6 months, 9 months. We have actually acquired a lot of expertise through a mission for a client, LVMH, for one of the LVMH maison, on helping them selecting the right social CRM solution in China for their brand. And we actually did not use any content from the mission, which was even more challenging. So we had to start all over again, writing this white paper. So we have a full process, and it's usually at least 1 month's work minimum. And I would say roughly in average around 3 months work involving many team members.
So for how do you stay up to date? I understand the report is specific on a specific topic, but how do you stay up to date about the digital ecosystem yourself?
Well, by probably same as you. So by being in many WeChat groups, communities, by also talking to events, so sharing with people working in the same industry. We also do a lot of research on local blogs and official accounts, Chinese ones, to stay up to date and to see as well what the local players are doing in this industry.
What are your best sources? Is TechNode a source you would recommend? Is Centrally OKR a source you would recommend? What kind of blogs, what kind of sources you would recommend to the audience to stay up to date? Could be in Chinese, could be in English.
Yes, so TechNode would be one of them, but China Channel as well, Walk the Chat. I think we listed around 20 official accounts, Western and local. So it really depends on if you are looking for content in English or Chinese. But yeah, we have one slide showing, and Dashui is one of them, showing all the official accounts that you should follow in China to stay up to date. And this is actually a very important part of the job.
I see. In your domain name, it's written 3110.network. Could you tell us more why it's .network, and are you satisfied that you took a .network? I feel a lot of people may be mistaken by 3110.com.
Yeah, and I believe we actually choose the only domain name that was not clickable on WeChat directly. It was taking 31.net. Yes, so well, that was the initial idea of the founders was to be part of a network, to work with reliable partners offering the solutions that we don't provide. So, and I think that's what we are still doing right now, is we are working with amazing partners on different side of it, strategy, marketing, media buying, events. So we still rely a lot on our network community. We also wanted to share with our network. So that's why we publish all this content and white papers. But yes, to be honest, the domain name itself is really hard to retain. And that's why the white papers are so important as well. Because from the website, you don't even...
Yeah, for the people who are listening to us, if you want to go to the website of 3110, you have to go to 3110.network. And yes. I believe some people may think it would be 3110.com. What I've always admired with 3110 is your ability to moderate community, the ability to be the ones who share, the ones who want good to the community, in the French Tech community, in a channel community, if we can talk about the community. How did it come up? Where does it come from? Was it a clear strategy, or was just the mindset of the founders? Their character was like this? Could you tell us more? I feel there's something I'm missing in terms of strategy of getting known into the market.
It's actually definitely the mindset of the founders. I think we share the same values. We always believe in good karma, what we call. So basically, right now we are sharing everything. We know that it's been used by competitors, by everyone in the field, reusing our content or our expertise. But sometimes it will pay off, and that's what we believe. So at the beginning, we started, we've been bootstrapped, so no investment, no funds. We just rely on the community and our partners. So we were kind of sharing the good words, spreading the good words, helping people, and we believed it was going to pay off. And right now it's actually paying off. So this strategy has been challenging, especially at the beginning when you start your company. But right now we can see all the fruits and the return by receiving really good feedback, such as you just did, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, I feel it's contrarian to act this way. It's not contrarian to think this way, because a lot of people think this way, but to really do it, few people do it. And that's one thing I remember I told to my marketing team, who was afraid that we are talking about too many things online about how we work and how we do it. And I told them, if we don't do it ourselves, someone else is going to do it after us. So let's be the first to be able to talk about how to use the software, how to do marketing in China, and so on, and to share knowledge. Anyway, things are moving fast, so you will have the opportunity to update in a later stage. Thank you very much, Clement, for being with us today. It was very precise, very instructive, and exactly actually what I was thinking it would be. So thank you very much for being with us. Congratulations for everything you achieved, and again for everything you do for the community in Shanghai. I really think everything you do is useful for the community, the French Tech, and all the community in the digital ecosystem, with all the reports you are sharing and the knowledge you are sharing. So thanks again for being with us today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Matthieu. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye, everyone.